action. Oh, sorry guys, just needed to clean up before we got this one on the road. All right, so just back here at the gym, we're checking in, and it's day 11, and what we need to talk about now is some of the fun stuff. So we're going to talk about exercise. We're going to talk about this for the next couple of days. So programming, mobility, all sorts of good stuff. So I thought we'd cover off the first thing, which is most important for me when you're coming from like a strength and conditioning kind of a principle, a functional movement kind of screening test that I do. I want to talk a little bit about that and how important it is, and the difference between like a CrossFit gym, between boot camps, between just a personal trainer that has their Cert 3 and 4, and the service that I provide to make sure that I see my clients seeing fantastic results. Now, posture, this got brought up as well, so this is something else that we're going to cover as well. Now, everyday life, okay, since we've, you'll notice, you might see around, like, most people that are listening to this podcast probably, have seen the, you've got to squat ass to grass to get good results. They've seen the little pictures of the kids, and they've got like, they're squatting all the way down. And as we get older, our movement pattern starts to change because obviously we start to sit a lot, and so muscles start to switch off, and we start recruiting major muscle groups for movement patterns that really shouldn't be getting used. So, these are the kinds of common things that we come across. Also, bad posture through different sorts of things. So I get a lot of guys that do benching, and so their shoulders pull forward a lot, and so they're quite tight through the pecs here, and obviously puts a lot of stress through there. Myself, I'm quite tight through my upper back here, through the thoracic region, and that was from the 5 years in the army, with a pack on and just sort of marching like this, and the guys telling you, lean into the hill, let the hill do the walking. Well, excuse my French, fuck me, that hill did not do the walking for me. It's just to take any way to take that weight off you and make it a little bit more comfortable to carry. I'll be like this, and so when I do my chin-ups, I really struggle to get that last little bit through that thoracic region, and it also affects me in my squats and things as well. So knowing these sorts of things in the background of if people have had broken legs and things like this is a lot of the things that you need to know and understand, to get clients moving a lot better. Obviously, because we sit a lot, our hamstring glute activation is quite often pretty terrible. If we're doing a lot of running as well, what that's going to do is that's going to affect our dorsiflexion in our ankles, so we're not going to get great range of movement in our squats, if we've been pounding that pavement over and over and over and over again. So we need to sort of rectify these things as best as possible. So the analogy I always use is that we want to have the most effective movement pattern possible. Okay, so you've got two things. You've got this is how broad you can go. You've got someone that's born with cerebral palsy. So obviously their movement pattern, their efficiency is really bad. So the neural activity there is just not firing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you've got an athlete like Usain Bolt, whose movement pattern is so efficient, and is why everything's just firing as it should be, and they look like it's effortlessness when he's cruising along, breaking 100-meter records. Now, obviously, with our day and age, in this day and age, we've become quite inactive and sedentary, and incorrect training patterns and things like that as well. So we need to combat this. So first and foremost is we want to start to activate muscles. We want to get you moving a lot more efficiently, because if you're not moving efficiently, then it's really going to inhibit you from achieving your goals, okay? And what I mean by that is you're really going to struggle to increase your strength, okay? Because you're not going to be able to recruit the muscles that you want to recruit to be able to perform the exercise that you want to do. So quite often, because we have a sedentary lifestyle, that glute hamstring ratio there is not firing properly, so we struggle to eccentrically load the hamstring to lower ourselves down. So what will happen is people will then lower through their quads, to take the weight, and then also through their lower back, okay? And that's how come people sort of start to develop a little bit of bigger quad. I've got a few clients like this at the moment. So when they squat down, they have to raise their heels to be able to get the depth. And that's because their hamstrings aren't firing properly to allow them to lower them through the movement, okay? And then obviously, if you can't get all the way, if you're changing the way that your movement pattern is, then you're not recruiting your glute to be able to drive you out of the hole. Now, someone like myself that's had a back injury, okay, what happened with me was I slipped a disc, okay, and I've done it a couple of times now, and so this is how come I've got a much greater understanding about this, because often you'll until these things happen to you, you just take it as a grain, a pinch of salt, okay. And so often I see guys in the gym and their technique is just, it's horrendous, and they're just waiting for back injuries. Even trainers that have never been injured before, you'll see them just pushing their clients without no real idea for the function of movement or what's happening. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why like CrossFit can be a bad thing. Okay, guys, and the difference between a strength and conditioning program and a structural balancing program, and someone just rocking up to a CrossFit gym that that's been sedentary for a long time. So CrossFit is only sort of there for guys that more so have a bit more of an athletic background, or don't have any of these inconsistencies, and that's why we see these injuries. So if your movement pattern, right, isn't at least sort of 85 to 90% on, then you're about 3.5 times more likely to injure yourself. Okay, we're given sort of only a certain amount of cycles that the body can go through. Okay, and so something that happened to me again is like I did my shoulder in the surf. Okay, about 2 years ago, and popped it out slightly. I thought it was okay. Like I rehabbed it and it felt okay, but it never felt like 100%. And then I was doing some deadlifts. My form was good. Okay, there's no reason for me to re-injure my back again. But because my shoulder's out, right, and because I've already got an injury through there, and my hip was out as well, so that cross-sectional area there, as then when I'm putting the bar down, just that, because of the constant loading and the volume that I'm putting through there over that period of 2 years, it's finally decided to go. And this is how injuries can occur. So this is why we want to become, structurally sound as best as possible. We want to get nice stable shoulders, and we're going to want to get nice stable hip joints as well. Okay. But to get these things, sometimes it's because we're quite tight and restricted through these areas. So, we could be tight through our pecs, we could be tight through, through the back of the shoulder, from poor posture, from sitting at the desk all day like this. Or, we've got tight glutes and hamstrings because we sit all day. So often people will think that it's tight hamstrings. If you can lay down on your back and you can get a 90-degree leg raise, okay, and if you can't get it yourself but can passively get it up there, then it's not your hamstring, okay? Your hamstring length is fine. The only reason you have tight hamstrings in the first place is you got to find sorry guys, you got to find why you have tight hamstrings, okay? And it's often because you're too tight through the glutes, okay? And then that obviously affects your hips. Okay, because then we're looking at your pelvis, and what happens then is we're locking up like this, or we're locking around like that, instead of us sitting nice and tight there. So we need to, in conjunction with using some myofascial release with foam rolling, we might need to get some deep tissue massage as well to try and release that tension again, so that we can see an improvement and really start to nail down our movement pattern. Next thing, what we need to talk about is activation, okay? And this is something we're going to go through a little bit further in the next couple of videos as well, is that, most of the people that are listening to this video blog is that we want to sculpt our bodies, okay? And we forget to check our egos when we hit the gym. And what I mean by that is we get so caught up from lifting the weight from point A to point B, and we're so worried about what everybody else thinks about how much I'm lifting. Am I a big dog in the gym? Really, does anybody come up to you in the gym and say, wow, man, that's such a great effort. You just lifted, 100 kilo bench press. You're awesome. No, they don't. No one cares. They might look back and go, oh, that's pretty cool, but they're not going to come and pat you on the back and tell you, you're awesome. Girls, same. Guys don't really care what you're doing in the gym, okay? Well, if your body looks amazing, okay, that's what they care about. That's what they care about. Okay, so activating is what I want to talk about here now, and this is what I mean by we're not weightlifters. Okay, we're body sculptors. So we want to put our mind in the muscle that we're trying to activate. We want to create as much tension on that muscle as we can. We want to create as much metabolic stress on that muscle as we can, so we can tone or hypertrophy the muscle. Okay, I mean, obviously we've got different types of muscle fibers there. So the way that we program our programs is we want to, with different sets and rep schemes, is we're trying to target different muscle fibers. So we might be trying to expand those muscle fibers we already have, or we might be trying to grow more muscle fibers. Okay, so what I've spoken about previously in a podcast with training female athletes and things like that is that we want to probably instead of blowing the balloon up, and putting a lot of blood into the muscle, we probably want to do a little bit more strength training to increase the muscle fibers in the body to give us that nice hard toned look. Now, to do this, you need to make sure that you're thinking about the muscle that you're working, and this is what I mean by activation. So often, you can do a bench press, for instance. Bam, I've done a bench press, but have I worked the muscle effectively and efficiently? Fuck no. Okay, because I didn't take into account the muscle recruitment that I'm trying to do. I didn't take into account the eccentric loading of the muscle to try and create, like I said, the metabolic stress, okay, the tension on the muscle. And this is very important as well, like when we're trying to, we're going through fat loss phases and all sorts of things, okay? We really need to isolate that muscle and work it as efficiently and as effectively as possible. And to do this, often we need to be structurally sound so that we can do this, okay? Often, like I have clients that come in and their movement pattern is restricted, and so they can't effectively recruit the muscles that they want because they're restricted and tight in the areas, and it doesn't allow them to perform the muscle or perform the exercise as I wish or I want them, or how they should be doing it, okay? So what I'm going to go through tomorrow, guys, is my functional movement screening. So I'm going to show you what functional movement screening is and how this helps me identify, weak areas, how it helps me identify mobility issues with clients, with injuries and things like that. And so when I'm putting together a program, I know exactly what I need to give this client so that they can progress and can see the gains that they want to get, okay? Because ultimately you want to see fat loss, but I need to get you moving effectively and efficiently so you can increase your muscle tone, so you can drop fat, okay? And then during that video blog, I'll show you a few simple things that you can do to perform on yourself that you can do at home or at the gym so you can effectively check out your movement pattern. And then we'll talk a little bit about exercises that I will prescribe, for common things that would come about from, just everyday lifestyle that I see all the time. All right, guys, Ben Lee, Coach Ben Lee, peace out, guys.